I think a lot of times, you'd be surprised at how many, like, he was my guy now, but you'd be surprised how like this conversation could inspire me to be whatever. Like those little, let's
Right.
say, gurus are really all around you if you're willing to be open to
Hmm.
listening to life and what it brings you. And sometimes it's very obvious,
Hmm.
like Daniel for me, where it was just like, wow, what an opportunity I'm getting right now.
Right.
And sometimes it's a little conversation you have, that can just make such a huge impact and completely change the course of your life. I mean, dude, I remember like I played I played in Italy for 3 years, and one
Hmm.
of those years I lived right next to this like butchery, basically. And this dude at this like shitty butchery that had no heating inside it for some reason, like in the middle of winter, open every day, just like selling fucking meat, dude. This guy was
Hmm.
just selling meat and slanging like basic grocery items in his little market, but he lived right by my house and I would get meat there. I'd get my meat there. And
Hmm.
we talked all the time. And by my third year in Italy, I was like not fluent, but conversationally could handle that type of conversation. And we could
Right.
speak. We spoke every day. And I just remember looking at that guy being like, dude, you have so much, he just had so much passion for life.
Hmm.
And it's something that like to see someone have so much joy. And I'm just like, dude, all he does is cut meat and like works in this cold store every day in this Busto Arsizio, which is like 30 minutes outside of Milan, just like cloudy city.
Hmm.
And but it's funny how like I would get so inspired from meeting a guy like that, and that bled into like having those little moments bleeds into my life.
Right.
If I go to the other day I went to like the mail, kind of like the USPS for here,
Yeah.
post office. My God, that's the word I was looking for. Went to the post office to deliver a letter, and I remember the guy who was working at the front counter just was like so happy, just like,
Hmm.
what's up? And obviously I'm in France now, so he was speaking in French, but just had this like smile and happiness where it just made me realize, like, I get those little moments, where I'm like, wow, like life's telling me to like, hey, you play professional volleyball, like life's not that bad, because I have my dark days out here too. And so it's like so amazing to just to have those, let's say, little gurus that every single day, like
Hmm.
life in some way seems to give me some sign. And if I'm open to it, I take that moment and that's able to then bleed into the rest of my day. And I just think like, that's just such a, it's a cool concept to think about, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah. I think that you touch on a really cool area of the willingness to accept that joy into your life. There's a guy that works at the Kamloops A&W, or the Wendy's, like right beside the residence complex. There's this Wendy's that we used to go to all the time, and there was this guy that would work there. I think he was the manager, but man, the guy just loved being there. And maybe
Mm,
he didn't love being there, but he just loved being. I think that was the point of it, was that
mm,
he was always super chipper, always into what you were doing, and he was always happy. He was always just stoked, super, like his posture was awesome. And he was just this older dude, and occasionally I'd go in there with, like, I'd be getting some spicy chicken wraps with a rookie, and after we leave they're like, man, why is that guy so happy, like he works the NW. Like, no man, that's not the point of it. The point of it is like, why is that guy so happy, and why can't you be like that all the time?
mm.
Like this willingness to let things bleed into our lives, because I think all the time, depending on who you surround yourself with, but lots of people will kind of refuse that and kind of go into this, um, like non-effective life, being like, why can't everyone just kind of be plateau all the time and not up?
It's interesting. I have some friends um, who I would say, yeah, bleed into this idea of, not that it's okay to be negative, but it's like if I'm pissed about something, I should be able to be like, yo, I'm pissed about this thing.
Hmm.
And it's so interesting. The concept in general is so interesting and something I think about, because I also want to live in a world where, like, if you get pissed about something, it's okay to be pissed about something.
Hmm.
But the other side of that is like, how much do you let it bother you?
Hmm.
You know, like if someone cuts you off in traffic, like, does that then alter your attitude in the same way that if someone opens the door for you,
Hmm.
you know? And yeah, the justification I've heard has been for people in my life who have a tendency to be a bit more negative, has been like, well, this thing pisses me off and I should be able to be pissed off by it. And it's so interesting because I don't really know the answers necessarily, like to me, I'm like, I agree. If something pisses you off, it's okay to react. I just think that there's, I don't want to call it a level of maturity. What's the word I'm looking for? I just think there's something to it's being okay reacting in a way, but letting it then affect you more than just the reaction, I think is a skill that seems to benefit a lot of people. The ability to not let those things completely ruin your day.
Yeah. The other day I've been trying to get a piano down here for a while. I've been trying to learn, and um, I just spent a ton of time on Marketplace and OfferUp, all of that stuff, and finally find this place and like literally lacing up my shoes to go. My mom and I had the opportunity the day before, but she had a meeting, so she wasn't able to. And so I messaged the guy and say, "Hey, do you still have it?" And he goes, "No, I just sold it. Sorry." And I was so angry because there were a few other things that kind of built up, and this was the straw in the back that I was just like so angry I couldn't speak. And my mom was like, "I'm sorry," and I couldn't have gone yesterday, and it was just this. The way that I conducted myself was that for the rest of the day I just worked. Like I worked on things. I worked on writing my lecture, and I worked on editing things for the podcast, and I worked on all of these other things. But I just totally threw myself into these things, put in my headphones, listened to music, and just like went and just kind of accepted the feeling and used that in what I would say a reasonably responsible way. Like when you feel angry, when you feel that emotion, like I think anger is something that's like this very natural feeling that we can alter and we can change into something productive. Like you can actually be very productive with anger. I think that's a really cool part of emotion and anger is you can find use for everything. We wouldn't.
What does that look like for you?
For me, for being useful in anger is just grinding. Like I put my head down. That's when like normally when I get super angry, I'll go to the gym and just grind for a couple hours. And like those will be my longest workouts because I need to work this out. I need to throw some weight around. I need to like hit something. So I'm using lots of med ball stuff and in general, I think it just brings us to a different state of mind where we're very aroused, very over aroused. And
well, scientifically, definitely does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're very, very over aroused. And so for me, that's this time where I can really dive into something and give my entire attention to it. And then it becomes kind of this anger meditation where I kind of forget what I was angry about, but I still have that over arousal. I still have those neurochemicals in my brain that are making me feel this way. And I kind of accept that and practice my breathing. And then I kind of dance with it. Like I'm jiving with it so that I can be my best version of myself in that state of mind. Like it's not that state of mind is bad or that we shouldn't feel that way at any time or all the time, but how can you translate that emotion, that feeling, that those chemicals in our body, the endocrine system into being productive, into being the best version of yourself with what you're given at that time. It's like to go through life without ever being angry is very unlikely, but how do you not let that affect your relationships and not only your relationships with others, but your relationship with yourself?
Yeah, and I think physical exercise is definitely one amazing outlet. And I mean, something else that I find really helpful as well is just like having a sense of humor. Yeah. And which is exactly why I'm having this phone call, this like Zoom with you, is like the back and forth you and I had. It was just like even a couple sentences, just like he gets it, And like I think because that's my biggest qualm with like a lot of the motivational spiritual kind of world that you see on like Instagram or the internet. Really, it just seems very like woo woo and not real, And I think that's where like at least for myself, I have a side of me that's very serious, like takes what I do very serious, but then the other half of me is like nothing really matters, Yeah. And I think I gravitate towards people who have that sense of humor and also that drive and discipline. And I think having a sense of humor to me is like a huge sign of having the ability not to find the best version of yourself, but to cope with different emotions that arise, you know, like I think I have a great sense of humor, but I still have days where I'm just fucking depressed. And if I'm being completely honest with you, today was one of them. Like, it's so funny. Today for me was like a really tough day. I like woke up and had to go we're basically in quarantine right now because a teammate of mine got COVID. The whole rules are kind of ridiculous, honestly, in general. But we got tested and we're all negative now. So we get out on Friday. But I had some ideas of something I wanted to do, but I had to go get this test I forgot about, went there, got it, came back, trying to back up my phone because I take all these videos all the time for like some media stuff, and like so I just don't have enough storage on my phone, so I tried to put it on my computer. That took 3 hours trying to figure out how to get it to go to the cloud or how to put it on my external hard drive. I like couldn't figure it out, and then it's finally figured out, and it's going to take like 2 hours to download. And I was just like, I needed to go work out and film some stuff and do something, and just like didn't do it, and finally said like, fuck this. I was just so pissed, and I just like laid in my bed, started reading this book. I'm reading a book for the second time called Illusions, which is a fucking amazing book. And I recommend it to everyone. It's short, it's easily digestible, recommended to me by this guy named Austin Einhorn with the team of heroes, who's just like another one of the gurus of my life, where we really connect existentially as well as in the physical realm of of sports and volleyball. And he's a trainer. He's awesome. Anyways, I started reading this book, and like as I'm reading, when you're reading, but you catch yourself like somehow having the ability to read words, but also think about something completely different. Like I was catching myself reading, but also thinking about the thing I was pissed about, and I was like, all right, fuck reading. I can't read now. And I just literally was like, I feel so much better after I sleep. I'm just gonna like lay here and just listen to the conversation going on in my head. So I wasn't like meditating, or I'm going to do some breathing, some things that maybe could have helped, some like forceful meditation, physical exercise, breathing exercises, things I know like physiologically will help me get out of this state. And yet I was like, fuck those things. I know the resources. I know they're right there. I could just take them off the shelf and put it in my backpack and go. But I said, no, I'm going to sit in this misery, and just laid there for an hour. I should go work out. I should go do this thing. Time's clicking. It's 4 o'clock. It's 4:30. And like didn't do any of the things that that I wanted to do for the day. Finally, like put some stuff on, go out there, and all of a sudden I'm out on the sand, like about to do this workout, and I was like, I don't fucking do it. So I like kind of putzed around, did some mobility stuff, and I was like, fuck this, I'm taking a bath. And I went and took a bath for an hour, ordered sushi. And that was a long story for really no reason. But I guess what I'm really trying to say is like, it's this interesting balance between knowing when to use those resources and like try to pull yourself out of something, and then also being okay being upset. And being okay just like, all right, I'm pissed and angry, but rather than like going outside into the world and like projecting that onto everyone I run into, I'm gonna sit in my bed and close my eyes and just listen. And it's just so funny how like took a bath, had some sushi, now I'm talking to you, feel fucking great. Like it doesn't make sense sometimes. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, the day before I feel so good. I'm working on a bunch of new projects. I'm doing some things that I think will be really cool here in the near future. I have so much to look forward to. I get to play as a professional athlete. I live in the most beautiful place I've ever played, Caen in France. This place is ridiculous. I live on the beach. The sand is right in front of my house. And I was like beyond miserable today.
I think that's a cool thing that you brought up, is that like the ability to accept that you're not doing great. I think that's kind of something that we get stuck into. And then like you said, with there's lots of, I would call it pseudo Eastern philosophy kind of bleeding into Western culture. And like a lot of it comes down to this idea of like everything should be okay and in balance all the time. But to have the good, you also have to have the bad. And I think that the ability to accept those emotions and accept that feeling is something that a lot of people either don't have or they try to push away to be like always good. Like